If you have been working on a project, a passion, your purpose, whatever it is, and you feel like you have poured months, weeks, years, hours into that thing and it's not producing the results that you want, or it doesn't seem like it's working out and you're on the verge of giving up, then this episode is for you. Full transparency, there was something that I was working on, or that I am working on, and I put a lot of effort into it, and I wasn't getting the results that I thought I would get, or the results that I wanted. And I got to a point where I was really fed up, and I was just feeling very weary and hopeless, and I thought about giving up. And immediately when that thought crossed my mind, it's like I was praying and I was talking to God. It was completely one-sided. I was sharing my frustration, and then after my rant, I was like, I should just give up. And immediately after I said that, a thought came into my mind, and it was a question. The question was, have you done everything you possibly could? And I thought about it, and I was like, I haven't. Because even though I put in a lot of effort towards that thing, and I really did give my all in the things that I did, I knew that there was a few things that I hadn't done yet, or things that I hadn't learned how to do well yet, that were also important to getting the results that I wanted. But because I did a lot so far and I didn't see results right away, then I thought about just giving up altogether. But then when the question came to my mind, it's like I immediately thought of a list of things that were very important to achieving that goal. And I realized that I hadn't done it. And so I just sat there with the thought, and I was like, I actually don't have the right to give up yet. Because it's one thing if you give your absolute all and you do every single thing required to do a thing and it doesn't work out, then that's between you and God. But if you are doing something, it could be a project, it could be with your purpose, it could be with life itself. If you have been working hard at that thing and you're not seeing the results, I want you to ask yourself, have you done everything that you possibly can to make that thing work? Because if you haven't done those things, if you haven't done everything, then you're not qualified to give up. You don't have the right to give up yet. Because one of those things that you had to do could be the thing that gets you the result that you want. If you quit now, you are quitting prematurely. You see what I mean? That's what I mean when I say you don't have the right to quit. Like, you've put in so much work and you're not done yet. Like, the work is not done yet, right? Let me give you a few examples. So if we talk about the most drastic one, life itself, right? I'm talking about like unaliving yourself. If you have been struggling with life, and I'm speaking as somebody who almost unalived myself in my teenage years. So I'm not just talking at you. So if you have gotten to that point where it's like you just keep getting hit at every turn, everywhere you look, it's something. If you are thinking of giving up and you ask yourself, have I done everything that I possibly can do to resolve this situation, to fix this situation, to change my situation? The answer is probably no. Let me tell you from my perspective so you don't feel attacked, okay? Because I'm sure you have enough going on. So when I was at that low point in my life, granted, I was young and I didn't ask myself that question, so I'm speaking in hindsight here. But when I was at that low point in my life, if I had to ask myself, have you done everything you possibly could? No. Number one, I didn't tell anybody I was struggling, right? I didn't tell anybody that I needed help. I didn't tell anybody that I was overwhelmed. So nobody could support me. Nobody could help me. Nobody could help me carry my burdens. Nobody could help make my life easier. I was bearing my burdens all by myself. I was bearing the weight of my pain all by myself. That in itself was overwhelming, but also not having the support and feeling like nobody would care. That was just a lie, because that I know for a fact that's not true, even though you can believe that in that moment. But I didn't even give myself the opportunity to receive support in that moment, right? So that's the first thing. If I had to ask myself, did you do everything? Have I done everything I possibly can to change this situation? Number one, I could have used some support. I could have spoken to somebody about what was bothering me, but I chose not to. So the weight of carrying that alone was too heavy, and that contributed to part of the reason why I almost did what I did. So that's the first thing. The second thing was I could have probably gone to therapy or like talked to a professional, right? Now, granted, I was back in the Caribbean and we don't really, yeah. But at some point, when I moved to the US shortly after, that could have been a possibility, right? If I said something, I could have gotten professional help. But again, I didn't say anything. And then I had a very negative mindset, which in hindsight, after the fact, I was able to develop a more positive mindset when I started consuming like motivational videos and sermons and positive speeches and stuff like that, right? So I could have done that at that point in time, but I wasn't. I was consuming a lot of negative media and things that was fueling my depressive state, right? And the list goes on and on. If I had to ask myself in hindsight, have you done everything that you possibly could before you choose to make this decision? The answer would have been no, right? So let's go to some less drastic examples. If you want to start a business, for example, a large part of a business's success is marketing, meaning you have to tell people about your product or service in order to get customers, in order for people to engage, in order for you to get results, right? You need actual customers. If you are not promoting, if you are not marketing, if you are not telling anybody about your business, but you are doing all of this work on the back end, right? Trying to fix things, trying to make things perfect, trying to, I don't know, fix a logo, trying to perfect a product that you don't even know people want because you're not telling anybody about it to see that people would actually buy it yet. If you are not making sales, or if it's costing you a lot of money, or if you're putting a lot of work into it, but you're not seeing the results, but you're not even telling people about it, you're not even marketing it, you do not qualify to give up yet. You don't have the right to give up yet because you have not done the most important thing that you need to do. Another example, if you say you want to start working out, you want to develop a consistent routine to start working out because you want to lose weight, and you are going to the gym consistently, or you're going on walks consistently, you're doing a lot of cardio, right? You want to unbig your back for the summer. If you are feeling like giving up because it's hard and you're getting sore and you're not seeing results, you're not dropping the weight fast enough, ask yourself, have I done everything that I possibly can? If you had to take a look at your diet, and you realize that you were actually eating in a calorie surplus, the math is not mathing, right? So if you ask yourself, have I done everything I possibly can? No, you're actually your biggest op right now because you are doing the opposite of what you need to do. So you can't give up and say it's not working because you are not doing what you need to do. So that's what I mean. These are, these are some examples. I'm sure there you can think of some others, whatever it is that you are working on right now. If you feel like giving up because you're not seeing results, I want you to ask yourself, have I done everything that I possibly can? If the answer is no, then just cross out giving up from your mind. When you ask yourself that question, you're going to start coming up with a list of things that if you know that if you were to do that, you would probably get results. My thing is the list that you come up with, it's usually the most important things that you need to do because these are the things that are actually going to move the needle. If you've ever listened to one of my episodes and while I was talking, you just started reflecting on your own life and thinking of how what I'm saying applies to you, then my question is, why stop there? I use my experiences to help you see the process of becoming the best version of myself and to also hold you accountable to your own growth. But I can't tell you what the best version of you looks like. You should be the one to define that for yourself. So I created journals with prompts to help you with self-discovery, self-reflection, assessing your relationships, healing, and reinventing yourself. So if you want to do more than just listen to the podcast, but actually start working on your own life, then go to secludedthoughts.com/journals. I will also leave the link in the description below. Now back to the episode. So my advice to you, when you ask yourself that question, when you feel like you've hit rock bottom, write down all of the things that come to mind when you ask yourself, have I done everything I possibly could? All those things that come to mind, that's like, no, you haven't done this, you haven't done this, you haven't done this. These are the most important things. What I want you to do is completely scrap or mostly scrap all of the things that you have been doing and focus on these other things. Because these other things, the things that you have not been doing, the things that you haven't done, these are likely the things that are really going to move the needle and get you the results. Because if we look at the previous examples I just said, in a situation where you want to give up on life, if you were to talk to people and tell somebody, you could probably get the help that you needed, right? Whether it's friends and family or talking to a professional, they could help you process your feelings. They could help you carry your load. They could help you deal with your trauma. They could help make your situation more comfortable, right? They could cater to your emotions to understand that you're going through this so they can help you with other things that are maybe not related, but it makes your life easier. And that's the thing that's going to make the biggest difference. In the example with the marketing, if you have a business, you have a product, you're doing all of this extra internal stuff, but you don't have any customers, marketing will probably come up on your list. So now you know you have to promote more. And when you promote more, now you get more sales. That's the most important things that's one of the most important things that you can do. That's what you need to focus on. Scrap what you've been doing because clearly it is not producing a result. Depending on what the thing is, you have to either scrap what you've been doing completely because it's useless, or you need to minimize it and stop doing most of the stuff that's not giving you any results, that's not moving the needle, and maybe do one or two things from your list and then incorporate the things on that list that you come up with when you ask yourself, have I done everything that I possibly can? And focus on that. Prioritize that. Okay? That is the most important thing. That is literally how you figure out what has been holding you back this entire time. It's usually the things that you are not doing. Because if you were doing the right things, you would be getting the results. You see what I mean? Sometimes the things you are not doing, there's usually a reason there. Sometimes it might be a fear. Sometimes it might be lack of knowledge, which is not the worst thing in the world because now you know what you need to learn, what you need to focus on. But if it is because of a fear, if it is because of some type of knowledge deficit, at least now you know the problem. You know what you need to tackle because what you're doing is not working. But a lot of times we do a lot of secondary stuff that makes absolutely no sense. It's just a lot of busy work that makes us feel like we're doing something. It's really just productive procrastination. Like, it's just busy work. It's busy, but it's ineffective. And you are essentially wasting your time because it's not doing anything for you. A lot of times we waste our time doing that, but you need to focus on the things that you know you should be doing that you're not doing and scrap all of the busy work. So before you explore other options, before you give up, before you feel like you're not good enough, before you feel like all of your work is going down the toilet, before you feel like all of your work has been in vain, I want you to ask yourself, have I done everything that I possibly can? And when you realize the answer is no, because it likely will be, do the things that come to mind, because these are likely the things that will move the needle. The second thing is, I want you to give yourself a bare minimum requirement before you can ever come back to that topic or that subject of quitting again. And I did this with myself. After the question came to mind and I made the list of the things that I know I needed to do, I gave myself a minimum requirement of that thing. So let's say I needed to market or post content promoting my podcast, for example. If I wanted to give up on the podcast, I'm not doing that. But if I wanted to give up on the podcast, for example, and I say, have I done everything I possibly can? No, because I have not been promoting it as much. And I say, okay, now I'm focusing on promotions. Now I give myself a minimum requirement before I could ever revisit that topic. So my minimum requirement would be, I cannot entertain the conversation of quitting again until I have posted 100 TikToks and 100 reels. So like 200 pieces of content about my podcast. And if I've done that and nothing has worked, then me and God will have another conversation about his timing, okay? Or about whether or not I'm in his will. When I say minimum requirements, I don't mean a minimal number or a small number. I mean a big number to where if you do that thing that many times, it's impossible for you to be bad at it, right? So let's say the reason I haven't been marketing and promoting is because I don't know how to do it. If I say my minimum requirement is 200 pieces of content on 2 social media platforms, by the time I'm halfway, I would have had a strategy because I understand what's working and what's not working, and I can tailor my content towards that, and I would likely see results. You see what I mean? So when I say a minimum requirement, I don't mean, okay, you have to do this one time, and if it doesn't work, then I'm giving up. Make your minimum requirement a very high number to where you have to learn how to, you would have to get better at doing that thing because you've done it so many times. So that's why I give 100 or 200 as an example. I also have 2 more episodes that would help if you're at a place of considering giving up. The first is called You're Planted, Not Buried. And it's about when you feel like you are getting hit in every direction, nothing is working out. But you have to understand that you are not buried. Your dream is not dead. You are planted, right? You are a place where you are growing. God is positioning you to grow in this season of your life. You are planted, not buried, right? There's a difference. And also, don't quit for one more day. I think that's what it's called. It's about the concept of, taking it one day at a time, right? So it's like different strategies, different things that I have used over the years when I've gotten to low points where I felt like I wanted to give up or like I wanted to quit. So if that's where you are, I would highly recommend listening to these episodes as well. And feel free to leave a comment below with your minimum requirement for whatever the thing is. What are the things that came to mind when you asked yourself, have I done everything I possibly can? But I really hope this episode helped. Leave a comment if it resonates with you. And that is all I have to say today. And I will talk to you next Sunday.